This is your step-by-step full guide on how to make $1 million online the easy way. It's based on my own experience making $1 million at age 19 and my company doing over $30 million since. And relax, there's no sales pitch in this video. Everything is absolutely free, so make sure you watch until the end. Because I'm gonna cover things like how to start as a beginner with no money, the skills that you need to make it happen, which business to start, where to find a mentor, but most importantly, let's start with why making $1 million is easy actually. See, I started as a 15-year-old broke kid in Europe, and I had no skills, no connections, and no money whatsoever. The only thing I had was a computer that was not even good enough to record videos like this one. And despite this crappy start, if you can call it that, I still have incredible confidence. I still have a delusional belief that I can do it. Especially as soon as I started going online and started watching other videos, watching podcasts, and seeing so many other people do it. I just thought to myself, if other people could do this, so can you. And the reality is that is more true now than it was ever before. With all the videos that we have available on YouTube and all the platforms, and AI make it easier than ever to make money online, I truly believe that the opportunity is still there. Because the reality is, if you are a beginner and if you are starting from zero, if you want to make $1 million in your 20s, let's say, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Quite the contrary, I would say. See, a lot of people think they need to have a novel idea, or like think, oh, I don't want to start an agency, I don't want to start a YouTube channel, I don't want to start this, because people have already done it, or it's been done in the past. But if your goal is to make $1 million and not $1 billion and to change the world, then that's exactly what you should be doing. You should be taking proven concepts, things that have worked for other people in the past, and just execute them to a T. But again, all this to say, you need to have confidence. You need to have delusional confidence in yourself, in your ability to make it happen when nobody else can see it, and when you have no proof that what you're saying or what you want to do is gonna happen. And here I have a quote from John D. Rockefeller that I really like. You gotta be 100% confident that it's gonna happen, or otherwise you are gonna find a path that doesn't lead there. And the biggest character trait that I see among my friends, my mentors, and people who succeed in general is being relentless. And if you work for Jeff Bezos and Amazon, it can definitely work for you. I'm sure you guys didn't know this, but if you go to relentless.com, you'll be redirected to Amazon. Because in the early days of Amazon, Jeff Bezos actually wanted to name the company Relentless because how much he believed in having this character trait, right? So again, don't trust me, go to relentless.com and you'll be redirected to Amazon. But another story that I have here is when I was 18 years oldish, I had started already making money. I had a semi-successful agency, probably had $100,000 to my name. As soon as I started seeing and I started believing that it was possible, my goal became to make $1 million before I turned 20. And of course, all my friends, all of my family members, and even my mentors, the people that I was paying for advice, were just saying and trying to protect me, let's just say, from it, that like, oh, it's not that important, it doesn't really matter, everything is gonna be the same, even if you make $500,000 or something. But it really mattered to me, and I really wanted to be able to say that I made $1 million at 19 years old. And from that moment on, as soon as I set the goal, all I would think about every single day, every single night, would be like, how can I make $1 million? How can I turn this 100,000 into $1 million? And a couple months later, I did make it happen. I did have $1 million in my bank account at the age 19, and it felt really good, especially because, remember, I started as a broke kid in Europe with no money, no connections, and no resources whatsoever. So I definitely know it's possible to start as a beginner with no money, but you need to stack the deck in your favor and you need to use all the unfair advantages that you have. Here's exactly how I did it. First, I wanted to outlearn everybody. This is when I came across a saying that I really like and to this day has stuck with me, which is the good ones just know more. And of course, at that time, that meant watching all the YouTube videos on business that were interesting me, watching all the podcasts for people who were ahead of me, and just knowing everything about each and every single business and each and every single industry that I had my eyes on. And not only that, because this sounds relatively easy, and some of you guys might say, well, I already watch a bunch of videos, I already listen to a bunch of podcasts, but I also put my money where my mouth is. Even though I didn't have much and I was afraid of investing it or risking it, so to say, that is one of the advantages that you have, and that is you have nothing to lose. So it's insanely important that in the beginning you take huge risks. Whether you be investing in a coaching programs, courses, information, paying for one-on-ones, all of this stuff. I paid everybody. I spent over $500,000 on my own education over the past couple of years. But a lot of people, when they hear the word risk or taking risk, they think about like, oh, I gotta risk money, but I don't have any, so this doesn't apply to me. But it does. If you don't have money, that's fine. That's out of the way. But you still have something that is really, really precious, and that is your time. See, in the beginning, you don't have any money and you have nothing to lose. You don't have a business that if you're not focused on it, it can crumble. Or you don't have a family and responsibilities that if you don't make money tomorrow, you're not gonna be able to put food on the table. So you gotta take this advantage and run with it, right? There are so many ideas out there. There are so many playbooks. There are so many opportunities that you could try for yourself and see if they make money. And as a beginner, you have all the time in the world, so you can test all of them and see which one is best for you. You can go to other people that you look up to or you admire, maybe are a few steps ahead, and you can offer to work for free because you don't make any money anyway. So if you learn something from them that is going to make you more money, anything, it's a plus. And if you do this, even for a couple of months, I can almost guarantee you, you are going to find a way. You are going to make some money. But the thing is, as soon as you start making some money, you don't need to spend it. Instead, you need to invest it back. You now have some money, but you need to apply the same principle that got you here, which is take more risk. So find ways in which you can use that money to make more money for you. Again, whether it be investment in your education and up-leveling your skills, being able to offer more, or running some ads, getting more people to see your services or your products already. The mindset shift that changed everything for me and allowed me to go from a broke teenager to millionaire at just 19 was I stopped seeing money as something that I could spend and buy stupid things with, and instead I just started seeing it as something that I can invest to make even more money. And my mind was constantly looking for opportunities where I could put dollars to create even more dollars. But surprisingly, here's where most people mess it up, because they spend all this time learning, watching motivational videos, reading self-help books, or taking endless courses on mindset. And meanwhile, they are still broke. They are still not making any money. So let me be very clear, you need to take action. And in fact, if I was starting from scratch today and I wanted to make $1 million, I would choose one out of 3 paths. Path number 1 would be content. And this is actually the path that I also took. But see, when I was 15 years old in Romania, I discovered content and I got into it completely accidentally. I remember scrolling Instagram one day and I came across a guy who was a little bit older than me, but he was living the dream life in Dubai. And he did it by using something called Instagram theme pages. I'm sure you guys have seen them before. And at that time, that seemed like a perfect business for me because it had a very low barrier to entry. It didn't cost much money to start. I didn't need to sell anything on the phone because I could barely speak any English. And it didn't require any crazy skills. So I got into it. I paid $7 or $27 for his course, and then I started taking notes. Long story short, the pages didn't work. But instead, I started working for other people and offering my design services. I started making posts for other people for $3 per hour. And mind you, I was making no money before, so this was still a whip. Eventually, I started buying my own pages, creating content for them, and flipping them for a profit, then build a portfolio of pages, started sending ads on them, and make a little bit more money. But the biggest thing here is that because I was in the game and I was trying to make it every single day, that's how I found my next opportunity. This was about 1 year later, but I learned a business model that at the time was called YouTube cash cow channels, right? Today, we know it as YouTube automation or Faceless YouTube channels. And with this business model, it was very similar to what I was already doing, and it was an easy pivot for me. But once again, I put my money where my mouth is. I spent thousands of dollars on a coaching program. And the next thing you know, I went from zero to making $10,000 per month with my first channel in about 4 to 5 months. And by the way, if you don't know what a Faceless channel is, it's just a normal YouTube channel where you don't show your face, but you create content and you get paid by YouTube or brand deals for the content that you create. And in fact, I have a free 5-hour course that you can watch somewhere on the screen right now. And it was through this model that I got better at business. I learned about managing a team. I learned about having systems and processes. I learned about investing capital and getting a return on it. So you can see how all of those skills and everything that you do stacks on top of each other. Since then, I started a bunch of Faceless YouTube channels, made millions of dollars with them, and the opportunity is still possible, right? But it's faceless. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be behind a camera, keep in mind, content can also mean a personal brand, like I'm filming this video right now. If you really like being on camera or talking to an audience or building something of your own, if you have some interest that you're really passionate about or you want to learn about something, this could be another way that you can take advantage of this path. And I think now with AI, it's going to be more important than ever. And speaking of AI, if you don't like content at all, you can actually take path number 2, which is AI mastery. See, I wasn't the earliest adapter of AI, but I still made so much money by its existence and by leveraging it in my business. For example, for Faceless YouTube channels, before you needed to hire a scriptwriter to write the scripts, a voice actor to of course narrate the videos, a video editor, and a thumbnail designer. You guys probably know all of those things. Now, with AI, Claude can write perfect scripts, softwares like 11 Labs can do the voices, and there are so many tools that can help you create design so fast that the business just got much faster, much better, and much sexier. And I became a master of AI just by using all of those tools and leveraging them to get cost savings and to make my business more efficient. Also, personally, I'm a sucker for productivity tools, and I'm trying every single gadget or every single thing that comes up that can save my time or can make something frictionless. For example, 2 apps that I'm using right now and I think are great are Superhuman, right? It's for emails. It helps write emails. It categorizes everything much easier. You can look into it. And the second one is Super Whisperer, which basically allows you to dictate and use your voice to write very long messages in text, right? Those 2 are consumer apps that somebody made. So if you're technical, this is something that is booming right now. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of apps left and right, but again, this is just the beginning. So the opportunity is still very early. And if you're not technical, don't worry. AI implementation, so showing other businesses, especially small businesses, how they can implement AI is probably one of the sexiest businesses right now. So that is something that you could also get yourself into. Now, if I got you bored with all of that, you don't like content, you don't like AI, maybe path number 3 is for you, and this is remote sales. If you're a good-looking guy or a girl and you enjoy talking a lot, especially talking to strangers, and you think you're good at it, then this is going to be very easy for you. Still to this day, I remember having my very first sales call. I was 17 or 18. I had just started my content creation agency. I somehow probably cold DM'd a bunch of business owners, and I managed to get on a call with this guy from Ohio he was. And I don't remember exactly what business he had, but I remember it was a 2-hour call after I had to change my t-shirt because I got really sweaty. I took the call in my parents' bedroom. My background didn't look professional. I didn't have the best camera. But at the end of that call, I did make the sale and I closed a $5,000 per month agency client. I didn't know anything about sales. I had not read any book, taken any courses. But the guy texted me after. Look, Raz, I'm not sure if this thing is gonna work. I'm not sure if you're just gonna take my money and run, but I really believe in you. So if you're young and ambitious and you can make that show, you can be really talented at speaking, people are going to bet on you. People are going to take chances on you. And if you do your best every single day to provide good service, to be a person of high integrity and keep your promises, you're going to be rewarded for that, especially in sales. And there's so much demand for this. Even in my industry, businesses like mine, we are hiring salespeople every single week. People are coming and going. The trick is you got to be good, you got to be consistent, and you actually got to have a knack for it. So if you are, and if you like this path, find somebody that you like, that has the results that you want, shadow them and get on the phone. Now look, I just give you 3 paths to $1 million right there. 3 ways that if you follow for the next 6 to 12 months, you can go from 0 to millionaire. But here's the problem. Most people are just going to watch these videos, say, okay, this is interesting, very nice. And then they're going to go and do nothing with it. Don't be that person. If you don't know which path to pick, follow your talent. This is where most people get paralyzed. They try to learn all 3 at once, spread themselves too thin, and are making 0 progress on any of them. Or worse, they pick one based on what sounds cool or what their favorite influencer online is doing, instead of what actually makes sense for them. So let me save you months of wasted time and tell you exactly how to pick your path. You've probably heard a million times before that you should follow your passion to make money, right? Do what you love and the money will follow. Yeah, that's backwards. Instead, you want to follow your talent. And by talent, I mean natural inclination. You probably know that you are slightly better at something than most people, right? It can be speaking, it can be being funny, it can be math. Because here's the thing, especially as a guy, I believe you don't fall in love with the thing itself. You fall in love with being the best at it. So stop asking yourself, what am I passionate about? What do I love doing? And start asking, what comes easier to me than most other people? Now, whichever path you choose, guys, it's important to know that you can always change and adapt later as you learn more. But if you want to be a millionaire in your 20s, you need to move fast. And there are a few crucial mistakes that you want to avoid in your journey. In 2020, I had already made millions of dollars online, bought my parents a car, paid off their mortgage, and my business was going very well. So I decided, let's live some life, right? What can be wrong with that? Well, there was nothing wrong with that in particular, but it killed momentum. I was going really fast, scaling to $1 million a month, business was booming, and I decided to take my foot off the gas. Looking back, I don't regret it because I traveled a lot, grew as a person, and I made a bunch of interesting connections with amazing people. But the funny story is, after I did all of this for about 9 months in 2024, I came back home in Dubai in September, and I decided to lock myself in a room and try to figure something out again, try to grow the business. And in the first 30 days of me going back home, going all in my business, I made $1 million profit. And it was so much more fun to me. I learned so much more, and I also realized how much money I could have made had I stayed locked in. So my advice for you here would be not to get comfortable, not to take your foot off the gas, especially when you have momentum and things are working. Instead, that's a time you want to double down and go even faster. The travel, the cars, the girls, all that can wait. And speaking of girls, the next mistake you want to avoid on your journey from zero to making $1 million in your 20s is the woman in the red dress. In the movie Matrix, there is a scene where Neo gets distracted by a blonde lady in a red dress who is in fact an agent in disguise. You see, as you start making some money and having some success, you're gonna start seeing quite a few opportunities, whether it be new businesses that you can start, investments you can go into with your friends, or any type of diversification, so to say. I think that all of those are actually distractions, agents in disguise. And I'm sure you heard this before, oh, the average millionaire has 7 or 17, whatever, income streams. And that might be true, but the sure fact is that they got those streams once they were a millionaire. They didn't get them to become one. I've learned time and time again that sequencing is very important in business, right? Being the right person in the right place at the right time is crucial. And diversification as a beginner makes no sense. I mean, think about it. You already have a business. You're already making money. All you need to do is stay focused, put your head down, and work harder and smarter within your current business. If you position yourself in the right vehicle, that's all you need to make $1 million. Everything else is just gonna sidetrack you and slow you down. So learn to say no and stay focused. The next one is lifestyle inflation. And look, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite wearing a $100K watch and driving a $400K car, but I didn't buy these when I was making my first million. In fact, I was living well below my means in a relatively cheap apartment, and I was taking all the money that I was generating and putting it back into the business to make even more money. I remember earlier in my journey, and I really like telling this story, I was driving my dad's $1,000 old car, and I was making $1,000 every single day. I didn't buy my first watch until I had $1 million saved up in the bank. So this is a mistake I see far too often, especially with young guys online. They take the money that they make, $5,000, $10,000, and they spend it on designer clothes, watches, or cars. And to make it even worse, they don't really want those things deep down, but they do it to impress other people or to post on social media. And of course, at the end of the day, nobody cares. Hormozi has this quote which I really love. If you want to impress stupid people, outspend them. But if you want to impress smart people, outwork them. And look, most of those mistakes and more can easily be avoided if you have the right mentor to guide you through the journey. And even though this would be the perfect time for me to sell you something, I'm not gonna. I just want to give you everything for free because I learned so much from other people in my journey. And in fact, I see some people nowadays priding themselves that they figured everything out themselves and that they didn't need anybody. But I don't find any pride in that. It's like, why? If there's information available, there's people who have done it before you. Why would you not ask for help? Why would you not get their blueprint, get their formula, and see how they've done? I've definitely grown the most in the moments that I had a mentor and somebody that was guiding me. I bought that $7 course back when I was broke, and it made my first $1,000 with Instagram theme pages. Then I paid someone who was ahead of me, even though the same age, $3,000 for some agency coaching, and I scaled my agency to $5,000 per month. Then again, I learned from Faceless YouTube channels from a mentor, somebody who was ahead of me from a paid program, and that business made me my first $1 million for something that it was probably a $5,000 or a $10,000 investment. Paying for information and to steal somebody else's 10,000 hours has by far been the best return on investment that I've ever gotten. Again, I've spent over $500,000 and I continue to spend money to get access to information, to get access to blueprints, even to this day. You want to surround yourself with the best people possible at all costs. And that's actually been one of my secrets. Being ready to pay the price, willing to do whatever it takes. Earlier this year, for example, I think I was listening to a podcast and I came across a guy who had a bunch of online businesses, starting with an agency, and he was now a billionaire. I was instantly hooked because it's very rare that you see somebody making $1 billion from online businesses. So I immediately searched him up, watched all the videos, all the podcasts, bought his book, read his book. I learned as much as I could about him, and then I wrote him a message. Hey, I want to connect. Did he reply? No. Then I wrote him an email, I searched his social media, I searched his partner, I messaged all of them, emailed them, introduced myself, and offered to pay to buy 1 hour of his time. Did it work? No. But going back to being relentless, this is something that I really wanted. So, okay, I had to come up with creative ways. A couple months go by, I send more emails, I email their assistants, I email their companies, absolutely nothing, until one day, I'm scrolling on Twitter late at night, and he makes a post where you could bid to get a lunch with him. And it was a charitable donation. You could just bid some money. Whoever wins, they take the money, they donate, but in exchange, you would get to meet him and his business partner for lunch. I see the bid, I say, okay, this is my chance, I got this. The bid was about $30,000, I think, and it was going very slowly, like 30, 31, 32. One of my friends were also in the competition, and long story short, not to bore you with the details, we win the bid for $102,000. We split it, and a few weeks later, I fly to Canada, meet Andrew Wilkinson and his partner in person. And that one experience, getting in that room, talking to them, completely changed my life. But the moral of the story is, everything we want in business and in life comes with a price. And sometimes the price is in dollars, sometimes in hours, and sometimes in things we have to say no to. But whatever the currency is, being ready to pay the price for my dreams has been the biggest unlock that I've had in my journey. Now, I hope you guys like this video, subscribe, and make sure to watch the next one.